Morning. Well, the question is now, since Sleepy Joe, and that's the kindest derogatory term that I could use for him, has stepped down, and I don't know how he came to that conclusion, because at the end of the day, I don't think the bloke really knew where he was. If you went back into his history and some of the things he'd got up to, I could really, really dislike him. But unfortunately, in this time that he's been president, I haven't felt able to really give him a verbal kicking, because as far as I could see, the bloke was disabled by one way or another, and that I couldn't do it. Morally, I just felt I couldn't. So I'm hoping that the next person they get in, whatever it is, will be able-bodied, so I can get stuck back into it. Now, obviously, everybody's looking at Kamala, but it could be others. It's interesting, really. What were they thinking? Were they thinking that get rid of Trump and then everybody would have to vote for Biden because there wasn't anybody really that would step up in the other camp? Is that what they were thinking? And then did they also think, oh dear, the assassination attempt has failed? Bugger. Right, better have to replace Joe. What I'd like to see is Hillary. That's right, Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton for the win. Because you really see things turn from bad to very, very worse. All right? I mean, this is a woman that wanted to nuke drone strike, I should say, a building in London that was holding Julian Assange, I believe. Was it Julian Assange? I think it was Julian Assange, yeah. And when asked why she couldn't do it, because obviously people had to explain that actually that's an act of aggression, amongst other things, she couldn't really get her head around it. So can you imagine if she had her hand on the on a position of power, like the superpower that is the United States of America, I should say. So I would find it really, really quite interesting, in the same way that I'm an accelerationist, and things have to get bad so quick that people actually notice it and then eventually get off their ass and do something. So take, for instance, Great Britain. We have Keir Starmer and Labour, and people are already regretting, what's wrong with my speech? They're already regretting getting Starmer in, and if they think it's bad now, just wait, it's going to get so much worse. Yes, all you people that thought that socialism was great, all of you people that have voted Labour all your life because your dad did and your dad's dad did and whatever, and you don't know any better, are going to get a rude awakening. No, don't get me wrong, I mean, conservative as shit, and the only actual other viable option that looked viable, okay, was reform. But anyway, that aside, we've got a few more years now to experience what cultural enrichment can do for us, what the left are going to do for us, and in the same way that if Trump, by some weird way, doesn't win, okay, because after they tried an assassination attempt on Reagan, he soared in the polls, and I've got to be honest, I think that the attempt on Trump really did make quite a difference, in so much as people can see what's going on a lot more. So, a few things that spring to mind. I've seen a meme, and it's got that picture of the guy just laughing, right? And it says, me laughing at the left. Now they've going to have to change the name on 100 million ballot papers because they've got the wrong name on it. Obviously, Joe Biden. But it's just... At the moment, I mean, because I never saw that Joe Biden winning the last time, because he was a dithering mess then. And yet, they rigged the election, and you could see them leaving with bags and bags of ballots that were going to go missing. And they found them since, and it was obvious that it was rigged. You know, the left won't ever agree to that, or at least most of the left won't. But it was quite obvious, and, the evidence has come forward to show that. But whatever, how could they actually rig it this time? And if they did, would the American people finally wake up? This is the question, because just how fucking obvious have you got to be? Or has it got to the stage where nobody really gives a shit anymore? Now, I like to think that the Americans are slightly more, at least half of them anyway, are slightly more patriotic about their country than, say, for instance, the average Brit. And that's a sad thing to say. But there is a certain, I don't know what the word is, meh is the feeling about Great Britain, because great was the word, okay, but it isn't anymore. We had an empire, colonies, all that kind of stuff. We were a superpower on the sea. We had an army to be proud of, etc., etc. But over the last X amount of years, especially after the Second World War, when they realised that to show power wasn't actually about having lots of different countries around the world that you owned, all right? It was actually about owning the banking system and owning the reins of the financial thing, which is why we then, after the Second World War, couldn't actually afford the colony and were actually apparently press ganged by the Americans from the Lend Lease to start giving up places. But we'd actually figured out it was much easier just to take everybody's crooked money in the centre of London, you know, that 1 mile apart, and that was the way forward. It's not that it benefited us, the little people, but there again, it never does it? I mean, if you think about the wars that have gone on, say, for instance, the wars that America have been involved in, or the wars that we've been involved in, it was never to actually do the right thing, although that was the way it was sold. Obviously, take Vietnam, for instance, they were trying to stop the spread of communism. Yeah? Well, they'd been in there 10 years before, and they were there for a long time. They could have actually achieved something, but they were never actually allowed to be given the opportunity to achieve anything. It was actually more about supplying the meat grinder with weapons, because that made the globalist entirely rich. And obviously, the movement of heroin and cocaine around the globe at that time, that was worth a few quid, and that funded a lot of the CIA black ops around the world that were going on, election rigging, coup d'etats, that kind of stuff. Crop burning. But we've been involved in some shit fuckery, and it's always the little person, you know, the worker, right, that ends up getting sent off to places like, I don't know, pick your war, okay? If it was a world war, obviously, if it was a smaller war, then the people that were already in the army have to go off and fight these things, okay? But when you look at it, these people, after they came back, many of them, say for Iraq, the Falklands, there was a definite, we could see what was going on there, and that seemed like a justified war. But when you look at things like Iraq, etc., people come back disillusioned going, the fuck was all that about? What do I achieve? Am I the good guy? Why is it I've been sent over here to guard this oil? I thought we were helping people's lives and protecting them from an oppressive dictatorship, but clearly not. So yeah, kind of went off on a bit of a circle there, didn't I? But this is the thing. What wars will whoever gets in next, if it isn't Trump, okay, what wars will they take us to? What war will Keir Starmer get us into? Because Keir Starmer will be asking the same people that America asked, where do you want us to go and bomb now? Or who do you want us to fight now? You work it out for yourselves. So it will be interesting. I'm sat here thinking, will it be Kamala? Because then it'd just be interesting. Anyway, right, I've got to go to work now. Well, I'm at work, obviously. I'm sat in a fucking truck, but I've actually got to go and do a bit. So, break is over, and I'll catch you in a bit. Oh, and Saturday night, yes, I'd had a few drinks. I was celebrating. I was celebrating the fact that actually things are starting to get a bit better. The BMW got fixed. There was it was spluttering and it was holding back, and I thought it was going to get really expensive. But it turned out that they'd recalled shitloads of cars of that age because the battery terminals were faulty, and I assume that they were causing fires and stuff like that. Otherwise, I don't think they would have recalled it. And it went in. I thought this will never fix it, and it did. And then obviously things at work are getting better in some ways, so that's nice. So I thought I'd go and celebrate, except I celebrated a bit too hard. But there you go. Anyway, Discord. You can find me in there most days for a chat if you want to talk. Go and subscribe to my Rev on a Rant channel, because that's where we do the lives from. And have a nice week. I'll see you in a bit.